Hey everybody, it's Jen and
Chelsie Darley.
yes, and Chelsie is one of the two Chelseas on the team. So this is Chelsie Darley, and she is one of our instructors at Whole Fitness and has you may not see her alive, but she has a lot behind the scenes actually. But you get to hear from her today, and she's going to be talking about mastering macros. So nutrition is a hot topic. This is something that we get asked a lot at Whole Fitness. And I'm going to clarify, I'm sure Chelsie will clarify this too. We are not about a diet program at Whole Fit. We coach from mindful eating, whole eating. So she is going to conquer math. I'm kidding, Chelsie. She looks funny. She's going to chat about macros. That's like a buzzword. And a lot of people are like, what are
Mhm.
macros? All that good stuff. So, Chelsie, you get to take over and share with us all the wonderful things.
Thank you, Jen. Yes, you are totally right. Agree that dieting we don't do here. And so, yes, I want everybody that's listening just to take in the next few minutes as I'm talking about this and Jen and I are chatting, just kind of take a minute to ignore all the noise and the misconceptions when it comes to diet, food culture, eat healthy eating, everything you maybe have heard or opinions that you take in every day or maybe have been shared with you.
Mhm.
Why don't you just kind of ignore those for the next few minutes while we talk? So, to kind of take this time and to really think about for us to talk about what are the facts? What do our bodies need versus what everybody's telling you that you need to do, right? So that's what we're going to do here in the next little bit. So super happy to be here and excited. This is a topic I'm really passionate about. And I think it's just like Jen said, so overwhelming, so much information. How do you narrow it down into a digestible way to kind of build your healthy eating habits? So I'll just dive right into it, Jen, if that's okay.
Go for it.
All right, so macronutrients, like just what macros, buzzword, hot word, like what does that mean? So macronutrients are to define it are the essential nutrients your body needs in large amounts to function properly. So there are three main macronutrients that our bodies need, each of them in different amounts to function well and for us to live well. The first one is carbohydrates. And so those are our preferred energy source for our brain and our body. And so they also are used for storing energy and aid in digestion, help us with digestion and that feeling of fullness. So that's where fiber comes into play from complex carbohydrates. And then you've got proteins. Everybody knows another buzzword, right? Oh, I need more protein about protein. Protein is really, there's a reason why we all talk about it because it is really important. But it is used for building and repair of tissues and muscles. It provides structure to our body's cells, which is really important.
Yeah.
It helps with like the pH balance in our body, and then creating enzymes and hormones, which we all know very important that our bodies create the right amount of hormones, right? And enzymes. Huge player in metabolism. So very important player in that how your body regulates its metabolism. And then lastly, you've got your fats. That's the third macronutrient. So fats are really important for cell membrane health, energy storage for our bodies, transport and absorption that's going on. And then it's our body's form of insulation. Just like a house needs insulation to regulate its temperature and go well, that's our body's way that we insulate is through our fat that we take in and then turn into insulation. So that is what they are. Just so I thought it would be helpful to kind of lay out what those the three macronutrients are, just so everybody knows what we're talking about, knows why it's so important,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And I
Hmm.
think, and I know that you would agree with this, that the number one macronutrient, if you are coaching somebody with nutrition or PT, is
Hmm.
carbohydrates. And
Hmm.
that's the number one thing that people want to cut
Hmm.
out when they say,
Yeah.
I want to go on a diet.
Hmm.
So, in order to, if you're going to cut out your carbs,
Hmm.
you're cutting out your major energy source. So I
Yeah.
think it's interesting. I always thought that was interesting. Like that's the number one macro they always list off. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was gonna reference too. So a lot of what inspired this podcast, even conversation, was at the SCW conference I attended. Amber Toole, she's a coach, Pilates instructor, owner. I attended her talk where she discussed macros as from a fitness professional lens, working with clients, and so it really inspired me, and I got a lot of good content. So I'm going to reference some. Yeah, Jen, you're totally
Yeah.
right. And she did mention that actually, and she mentioned that a lot of like when you cut carbohydrates, that's an easy way to lose kind of initial water weight. And
Right.
so you're not losing body fat, you're losing water weight. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think it's so tempting for people to just go straight to cutting carbohydrates, but
Mm-hmm.
you're not really changing your body composition. You're just
Right.
lowering the water amounts for
Yeah.
temporarily. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah.
really point. But I wanted to reference, so she was a huge inspiration. It kind of inspired this talk because I felt like this is information that people needs to get out there. People,
Yeah.
just kind of eliminate all that noise. Let's
Yeah.
think about
Absolutely.
what are the basics about what, like, it's not just a trendy thing. It's a really
Mhm.
like a scientific thing of what
Yeah.
they have studied our bodies need to run well, and to thrive. And so it's not much different than tracking, think about track, like if you used to track like a food log. Some people have to do food recalls for they have certain health issues. It's this very similar practice. Kind of, thinking about, and I'll go into it here in a second on how much you need of each
Yeah.
one, because we don't need equal amounts of them all, right? Um, but the focus is not the number of calories. I think that's a big difference to notice and to kind of highlight, because I think when you track calorie, you say you get a number, oh, I'm supposed to eat 1,400 calories. It's I hit it or I didn't. Like it's a
Mhm.
very black and white thing.
Mhm.
Um, but then you'll hopefully be happy to hear with macros, it's more of a range. And so there's a little more leeway, a little more give when it comes to what you're eating and how you can kind of plan it to work around your life and your eating style.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like you get kind of percentages to add up to 100. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but
Yeah.
just so yeah. So as we were talking about the three, so like they're different amounts, right? So we're talking about carbs. Our bodies actually, okay, so this is for general population. If people who have specific conditions, this can vary. So again, we talk about general population advice. That
Yeah.
for carbohydrates, the range is 45 to 65% of
Mhm.
your total food consumption.
Yeah.
So that's about half for most people,
Yeah.
or a little more. So you kind of have to, play, but that's a huge, people don't think about carbs, but that's the main source of our body's fuel. Um, Protein can be anywhere between 10% and 35%. So
Mhm.
10%, Amber said this, that's really low. So
Yeah.
10%, most people need way more than that. That's a very low number, but for some people, it might be appropriate. So 30 up to 35%.
Mhm.
And then fats is going to be 20 to 35%. So you've got, mostly carbs, and you maybe split the other half, you kind of have to play with it too and see what works for you in that range.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that can be, yeah, so it can, some positives to it. It can be a helpful way to kind of practice moderation and balanced eating, because what you're doing is trying to make all your food be balanced in this so many carbs, not to make it into I have to eat, I can only eat this, it's more of like a balance type practice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
That sounds good. So like
Yeah.
if someone is listening and this is new to them,
Hmm.
um, can you give us as best as you can describe
Yeah.
while they're listening because they can't, I mean, they might be watching the video, but probably
Hmm.
listening to the podcast. But
Hmm.
if they were to look at their plate,
Hmm.
what would that look like with these macros?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that leads me into my next what I was going to talk about, which
There you
is
go.
some myths around each of the macronutrients. But I think that's a really good question. So I'll start with that is, yeah, how can that look? So I think for a lot of people, they think all those three categories have to be separate. Like I
Mhm.
have to eat avocado and then I have to eat
Yeah.
quinoa and then I have to eat chicken. Like that's, and there's a lot of foods that have multiple. So you're going to eat a lot of, there are foods and meals out there that have carbohydrates and protein or, fat and protein. Like, so you're kind of, you can double up on a lot of things. It can look like a bowl, like just as long as it's balanced, right? Like, so it can
Right.
look like a building your own bowl and you're combining everything together. Or
Hmm.
you can kind of, like I was saying, have everything separate, or it can be all the, like the amount of protein, excuse me, and carbohydrates in a salad. So I think if people have ever heard of like the healthy plate, that's the new kind of USDA
Yeah.
recommendation for,
Hmm.
it's not far off from that, when you're thinking about like macros.
Yeah.
But I think there's a little more leeway in individualizing it to what works, what your food preferences, and then what you have access to as well. It's not, it's, oh, you have to eat. It doesn't have to be whole grains, your carbohydrate. There's flexibility in what those carbohydrates, fruits. So that's what my first myth actually, that leads great into that, because
Yeah.
um I think the first myth we talk about comes to carbs. When you hear carbs, people think like bread, pasta, potatoes, and rice, particularly white, like white bread, pasta, white rice, the refined grains, right? That's what
Yeah.
comes, I think you can agree, to most people's minds. But actually, if you look at it, sources of carbohydrates, the majority of fruits and vegetables are mostly carbohydrates.
Right.
So that is a huge, and they're complex, meaning they break down slower than the refined versions of carbohydrates. So fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, and legumes also count, and dairy products. Don't forget dairy has some carbohydrates. They're not high in carbohydrates, but they contain them. So those complex carbs that I just said, they contain more fiber. And so that's the difference in the complex versus what people immediately think of with
Hmm.
carbs, which is the refined. So our bodies need fiber for healthy digestion, right?
Yeah.
The blood sugar spikes are huge. Like that helps prevent, like, right after you eat, blood sugar spikes up and then it has to come down, so it's going to crash.
Hmm.
So the fiber helps prevent that crash from happening. And so, like I said, yeah, most foods are a combination of carbs, proteins, and fats, different amounts of each. So sticking to like whole food ingredients, to get the most from that macronutrient value is gonna get the biggest bang for your buck. So thinking about the variety and then the quality of that food, versus like eliminating a whole group, in one of these, like, or eliminating foods within it, right? Enjoying a variety, but what's the quality of that food? Is it nutrient dense or is it not? And that we know that fruits and veggies are, because they have the carbs we need, so for energy. So I
Yeah.
thought, definitely, what do you think about, would you say agree with that myth?
Oh
To
yeah,
feed.
because like when I hear people say that, I'm like, okay, so you're gonna cut out vegetables and fruit,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, because we need those high fiber, all those minerals and
Mm-hmm.
nutrients. A lot of
Yeah.
people are weirded out by fruit. Do you get that
Yeah.
pushback? Like it's
Oh yeah.
sugar, and I'm like,
Sweet. Hmm.
well, it's not chocolate, it's not white sugar, so
Right. And
feedback for that.
yeah. Yeah, with whole fruit, you get fiber with the natural sugar. And so it helps your body. That's not going to cause as much of a blood sugar spike and do the same as like a piece of candy would, or,
Right.
chocolate or something like that. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely.
That's good.
Yeah. The next myth. So with fats, a big myth, I feel like it suggests is that the fats are unhealthy. Like they lead to weight gain. If I eat fat, that leads to more body fat. Like that's kind of a myth. I feel like that circulates fairly regularly. And so truth is that is not true. The 10 was it 20 to 35% of our macronutrients need to be in the form of fat. So the fat helps, that helps in our nutrient absorption and inflammation. So the good fats, right? So same as carbs, the type of fat matters. That is not the same across the board. Like there's different, I'm not going to go into like the super scientific because it's going to bore you, but just
Yeah.
just know that like the unsaturated fat is what your brain thrives on. That's what our bodies helps fight that inflammation that we all want to lower. And so that's where the sources matter. So like avocados, avocado oil, nuts have that good unsaturated fat. So any kind of whole, you whatever. There's millions of different types of nuts out there. And then olive oil. So olive and avocado are the two least inflammatory
Okay.
oils. So those are are going to be higher quality sources than your saturated and your trans fats.
Mhm.
Now, not to say that you can't, we can't, there's saturated fats in red meat, but there's also a lot of benefits in red meat. So, you kind of don't get too extreme with it, but the general statement that fats are lead to weight gain and unhealthy fat is or in more body fat is not true if it's in the right amounts.
Right.
Um, and I think it's a little tricky because, think about carbs where fruit and veggies are, you can eat a lot of them for a lot low calorie amount. And so the volume isn't as important. With
Mhm.
fat, it's very concentrated. So like 2 tablespoons of olive oil has, 140 calories. So serving sizes of fats are going to be smaller. Like just kind of knowing that when you're cooking, preparing, ordering that like salad dressing, that's why you don't get a giant thing of salad dressing because it
Right.
has a lot of it's concentrated
Yeah.
um of that fat. So just as long as you kind of keep that in mind, serving sizes, then yeah,
Okay.
you'll be feeding your brain and body well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And everybody's excited about eating fat. So thank
That's
you for
right.
that.
It is actually good for us. We need it. We need it.
Yes. Um, there's so many things that you are talking about that
Hmm.
I think from our age, um, our mom's age, grandma, like
Hmm.
we go everything. No, honestly, I believe there's no new diet under the sun. They just changed the name.
Right.
Um, Atkins, keto,
Hmm.
all the things. So macronutrients is I would say is a buzz word, but they have been teaching people, like you said,
Hmm.
over time. And so all
Hmm.
of these things we need in our diet, and cutting out carbs or cutting out fat is actually going to do more harm than good.
Hmm.
So I love that you're sharing about all of these things that we
Yeah.
need, because I do hear this often.
Hmm.
Um, I'm just not going to eat bread, or
Yeah.
I ate a salad and I don't understand why I'm gaining weight or why I'm not
Hmm.
losing weight. And I'm like, well, what's on the salad?
Yeah.
Is there any protein on there? Do you have fiber in there? Do you have, like you
Hmm.
said, they're talking about the fat in the dressings, like,
Hmm.
just being aware. So I love that you are hitting when you're talking about these macros. It's going, I hope it's educating everybody to see that we need these. Our
Hmm.
bodies need these.
Yeah, yeah, and that you're totally right, Jen. And that leads to our last myth, which is a big area, which is protein, right? So everybody kind of knows by now it's important. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, we know we generally don't eat enough of it, but I think a myth out there when it comes to protein is that eating more protein or kind of the right levels for you will lead to, I guess, gaining too much muscle or being too muscular.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of along the same lines as heavy strength training leading to too much muscle. I feel like those two things kind of
Mm-hmm.
go to, I hear that
Yeah.
myth a lot. And so that is generally, if you're eating as long as you're not eating above your range for yourself, generally not true, right? So protein, we talked about repairs and builds muscle tissue after we exercise. So excess protein doesn't accelerate muscle growth.
Mm-hmm.
So consuming more than your body needs can lead to excess like waste products or health issues. And so unused calories may be stored as fat.
Mm-hmm.
So just something to think about that, you want to eat it within your range. Like there is a too much of a good thing. It's a bad
Mhm.
thing, you know.
Right, right.
So yeah, so you don't want to overdo it, but staying within a range that works for you. Again, um variety and quality matter. So, a really good
Yeah,
quality protein powder, good quality grass-fed meat, looking at your protein sources and rather than just like protein bars that you're not, you're like, I don't know the quality, what these
right.
are.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so you want to pick foods, whole, preferably whole foods that have other nutrients with them that your body can utilize. So,
Mhm.
yeah. That's one
Um,
thing Amber mentioned too, at the conference that I wanted to reference. Is what she hears a lot, something that
that
she wanted to
they're gonna
dispel.
gain too much muscle or gain too
The
much
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
weight.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've heard people are fearful they're gonna gain too much weight as well.
Hmm. Yep.
Excuse me.
Yep.
And then people will say, "Well, I'm eating protein,"
Hmm.
um, but like I according to I had to look it up because I could never remember it, but I want to make sure
Hmm.
I get it correctly. But like the recommended dietary allowance
Hmm.
says like we need 0.36 grams per pound of weight. However much
Hmm.
we weigh, multiply that
Hmm.
by 0.36, that's how much we need in a day. So if you're listening, I'm going to encourage you to do that.
Yeah.
And then for a day or two, or look back yesterday and today, how much protein did you get?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
I will be shocked if you hit it because we're in our Five to Thrive challenge right now.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that was the number one thing that people were having a hard time with off the bat. Like,
Hmm.
this is a lot of protein. This is a lot of protein.
Yeah.
And technically, we didn't even give them all that they need in a day.
Right. You might
For
have
that,
been on the lower end of the
we
range
were we
for,
were on the
yeah.
way low
Yeah.
end,
Yeah.
just trying to, and so like maybe if you're listening, you're like, that's a lot. I always say shoot for 20 to 25 grams of protein per meal. Just
Meal.
shoot for
Yeah.
that. Start there.
Hmm.
Um,
I agree.
yeah, that's good. It's good
Yeah,
feedback.
if you can make sure you have a good protein source within each meal, and that doesn't have to be meat. It can
No,
be, yeah, protein powder. It can be beans are a great protein source. That if you're more plant-based, like you don't love meat every meal, you don't have to eat meat every, there's options. But center having, yeah, 20 to 20 minimum, yeah, kind of per meal, and then a snack, having a protein as part of, but ease yourself into it. Don't just, yeah,
yeah,
jump because your body's it's going to take some time to
yeah,
to get used to
yeah.
that way of
And
eating. Yeah.
right, and when you're doing these macros, you're going to feel
Hmm.
fuller,
Hmm.
and so you're like, I'm not even hungry. It's
Yeah.
because if you're getting your vegetables, you're getting your fiber, you're getting
Hmm.
your fruit, all that stuff, like the protein. It's the it's what you want, where it's going to make you
Hmm.
feel fuller longer, and you're not
Yeah.
craving all the sugar and
Hmm.
all the salt.
Yeah.
I notice if I'm staying within the ranges that you are referring to
Hmm.
today,
Hmm.
I don't crave sugar like I used to,
Hmm.
which is
Agree.
interesting.
Yeah,
High
it
fiber
is.
too.
Hmm. Yeah, and you mentioned kind of finding, yeah, and it's really important, like those ranges I mentioned, to find your own. So one resource I'll tell you is bmrcalculator.org. And
Hmm.
so that kind of lets you calculate your basic metabolic rate, which is like the amount of it takes like a number and then it tells you on there how to there's a little bit of calculating, but it kind of walks you through how to come up with the gram number for yourself based on your weight, your height, that sort of thing. So I wanted to throw that in there as definitely a resource to utilize if you're not even sure where to start. Like how much should I be eating? What is my 20% or 30% or yeah, what does that look like? And if I feel like I'm ready to track, and that leads me to thinking about like tracking food in general, but also macros, right? Like it has its own challenges. It's not, if it ideally it would work great for everyone and everyone could do it. But one thing Amber Tool really highlighted, which I think is really important, we talked about weight loss, people changing these eating habits for weight loss, which is super common. But if you are someone who have chronically under eaten or overeaten or kind of usually, so I think she said chronically underdone like what calories your body needs, then you may be at a plateau where your body will not let go of weight. Like it just holds on to it. So what she suggested was to go up to maybe more of a maintenance level calories for a little while to like let your body nourish it a little more, let it reset. I know it intuitively that doesn't make any sense, right? Like to eat more, I'm supposed to eat more to lose weight, but you're kind of giving your body a little more for a little while. Kind of, she suggested everybody's a little different, a couple weeks to a month or two, and then go back down to your levels or calories or macros where you would be for weight loss. And she says sometimes you'll have much better success if you kind of do a reset and just, someone who's undereaten their bodies just they can't lose that weight, or it
Mhm.
won't let the body won't let go of it if it hasn't reset. So just thought
Yeah.
I'd throw that tidbit out there. I thought that was really good information.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And so thinking again about the difficulties, right? So, chronically undereaten, if you have issues with overeating, or
Mhm.
maybe just a history of disordered eating, just want to throw this out there. It's not really recommended to track much of anything, if it's still like a current ongoing challenge. I mean, maybe if it's, a history of it where you have a better relationship now, something to try out and see how you do, but it's not gonna be healthiest and the best for you in the long run to, kind of continue to obsess or continue, kind of that those numbers, you can get
Right.
really, really too far into it. So I just wanted to definitely throw that out there, that knowing what the macronutrients are and your levels, everything, that's great, but it depends on where you're at in that stage or in that realm. So I would suggest working with your primary care provider, finding a registered dietitian, or even a counselor if it's more, just any kind of support person to help you work through that and those challenges before you kind of dive into the tracking of macros, because it can bring past issues to light. It can cause further issues. Um, so I just wanted to definitely mention that as well.
Yeah, that's
Would you
good.
agree? Yeah,
Good advice.
exactly. Yeah, definitely. So Amber, and I wanted to reference some other challenge, some common things, challenges to doing this, more challenges. I mentioned connection, so that like emotional connection to foods, like especially maybe with carbs or with different things. So, we're going out to eat at restaurants, social engagements, you're where you don't have a lot of control over what's in food. I think that's an area where tracking macros gets a little messy, a little tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of all or nothing thinking, for people who, and this goes with tracking just food in general, but if your ranges aren't being met, you kind of, what's the point? Forget it, kind of either I'm doing it right or I'm not going to do it at all.
Yeah.
So she used a really good illustration on talking about this. She said that would you like if one of your tires had a flat tire and or you ran over something, would you bust or burst the other three tires just because the one was blown? Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I ruin three perfectly good tires? And so
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really good analogy, or
Yeah.
kind of analogy of like we do make one mistake, or maybe we just kind of have one misstep and
Mhm.
we just say forget it, throw it all away. I'm gonna eat, eat whatever I want. Today's a bust. Like, that doesn't, that is not serving you well in the long run. Kind of just picking, making that next best decision
Yeah.
for yourself. And we're all gonna, we're all gonna mess up. We're all gonna, do things we wish we hadn't, make wrong decisions. And so you just kind of getting back on track and building that resilience within ourselves, I think is a big part of when it comes to eating, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tracking fatigue, if you do something for so long, sometimes you just need a break. Like that
Yeah.
happens. Um, like I'd mentioned before about if you kind of get too obsessive with it, or it gets too like you can't plan, you have to plan your life around it, or you can't say no to certain things because of your, what you've eaten,
Mhm.
I would, yeah, I should definitely recommend taking a break from it, praying for wisdom and discernment, in your relationship with food, including your macros, just like you would pray through any other challenge, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
It's good. Good stuff. I'm writing down so many things.
Good.
No, that's great. I think, they have to live life. Like we have to
Hmm.
live life. If you live too
Hmm.
restrictive, it's not attainable. And if you're
Hmm.
living like, why even try? Then that just heaps on shame and I feel
Hmm.
stuck and I hate the way I feel and hopeless. And
Hmm.
so I think, you know, this approach, like be
Hmm.
mindful, everything in moderation, look at your plate, what's on your plate, just
Hmm.
start simple. I think
Yep.
it'll help put some guardrails in place. And I love the tire analogy. Like I want
Hmm.
you to have to go and just take the knife and start slashing every single tire because you just had an off day. Like it's like you
Hmm.
wouldn't do that. So that's such a great example. I love
Hmm.
that. And we just and at Whole Fit we are constantly encouraging our people to stop the all or nothing mentality. Like just show
It's
up.
so hard. It's
It's
so
so
hard.
hard. It's so hard. I think
Hmm.
if you're living like that, you're living too restrictive or
Hmm.
you're living in a gluttonous lifestyle
Right. There's
with
no, you,
self-control.
yeah, it's like there's no, like you said, guardrails. You have no
Mm-hmm.
boundaries to keep you structured, like it's too much freedom. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's dangers with both sides. And I think
Yeah.
that's a very common challenge, that I think just gets in the way of balanced eating,
Mm-hmm.
is, either I'm doing it perfectly or I'm not going to do it at all.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chelsea.
You're welcome. I was
I do
gonna,
have. I'll go
yeah,
ahead.
go
Did you
ahead.
have more?
Yeah, well, I was just gonna share a quick encouragement, kind of thinking about
Yeah.
like praying for wisdom. I wanted to encourage anybody listening, if anything resonated with, like, maybe my relationship with food isn't has there's more to it than I maybe have recognized in the past, or um, that you've tried this before and like, why doesn't it work? Why doesn't it work? I just wanted to encourage you to really think about building that's a good support, just like you have providers for when you go to get go to the doctor every year, get your labs checked. Like, think about building that right support team. I think I mentioned a little bit, but for you to get through this challenge and to kind of improve that relationship with yourself and your own body, and then also with your eating. So that could be, like I mentioned, primary care provider, a dietitian or a nutrition coach, a health coach, therapist, counselor, any, and it can look in any sort of that, it can be virtual, it can be in person, but just praying for like wisdom on who those people, who those players and who those support people need to be. If you don't have any, I would pray through where do I start.
Yeah.
um I wanted to encourage James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally without reproach, and it will be given to him. So just encourage you, instead of, Googling your answers, or questions, or kind of turn into social media, like, how can I
Yeah.
get healthy? How can I lose weight? You know, turn to God first and pray for him to send those people, for you to find the
Yes.
people that you need in your life to really support you in this journey, in this challenge. And us at Whole Fit, we are happy to be those people if you come to classes in person. But I would just definitely think about it as a team, though, right? So, like, we don't need to be your only people. You need to have
Right.
a provider or someone, maybe a dietitian or a counselor, if you're needing to work through some challenges. It takes a team, and it takes a lot of times you'll see the best results if you kind of come at it from different angles. And so I
Mhm.
just encourage everyone to think about that and pray for
Absolutely.
you, maybe an area you haven't explored yet. And maybe if therapy would really be helpful, but I just haven't quite made that plunge. Like, I hope this kind of gets you thinking and praying about what that might look like for you. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. And I
Yeah.
love the verse because that's where we always want to go to first is God. And
Hmm.
yeah, like we are here for you guys, but we also are not, like you said, like
Hmm.
add more people to your team.
Hmm.
Um, and especially if those who have eating disorders or disordered
Hmm.
eating, I have a
Hmm.
list of counselors. So if you want
Yep.
to email me, if you are a loved one struggling with that,
Hmm.
I can send you a list that are if you're in the area that's local.
Hmm.
But I love that you mentioned that too because there is a lot of
Hmm.
fear with food. There's a lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
um, questions and
Hmm.
obsessions and yeah, so it's good. It's not just what do I eat? There's some heart work there that needs to
A lot of time, yeah, it is
yeah.
deeper. And so yeah, please reach out to us at Whole Fitness and we will with resources and or we'll help you, get any resources that you might need.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I like to end with rapid fire questions that I don't tell anybody ahead of time, so I
Oh,
know
I
you're
guess.
sweating.
Ah, okay.
It's nothing crazy. Just what's your favorite macro to eat?
Definitely carbohydrates.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Even the complex ones. I love, yeah, quinoa and give me all the whole grains. Yeah.
Yep, I'm the same. What's your favorite workout that you're doing right now?
Oh gosh, I have started to love strength training, like heavy strength. Well, heavy for me, but I
Hey,
didn't. Yeah, I just I'm like, oh, it feels so good. It makes me feel so strong. So yeah, definitely gotten it more into that recently. Yeah.
love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. What is something new that you are loving?
Hmm. In general, like any
Can be
anything.
anything. It could be your favorite. Like you found a chapstick or a lip gloss,
Oh, like brand,
anything,
or
or just, I mean, it could be
hmm.
new to you or brings you.
So I will say this kind of has to do with food. So I have found an electrolyte powder that I love. That my husband and I have been buying. It's from Redmond, so the Redmond Salt Company. It's
Right.
called Redmond's Relight, and it comes in like a bigger tubs where it's not like the individual sticks that you
Yeah.
have to buy so many of. But it tastes so good, and it's like got
Yeah.
like coconut powder, I think, and it's like strawberry lemonade flavor. They sell on Amazon.
Yeah.
It tastes amazing, and it's really good for like hydrating. Like you just need that extra boost, some days.
Yeah. Yeah. I
One once,
definitely.
yeah. So yeah, that's my latest
There you
a
go.
product that I've discovered.
Awesome. I've never heard that.
Yeah,
See, that was it. That was all. That was all the
well, that's
questions.
easy.
Yeah, just to get to know you a little bit better. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And guys, we hope that this is helpful. If you have any questions, especially with the contacts with counselors or,
Mhm.
please email us or look out for our challenges. We do about two a year. Come to a whole fit class, pull us aside, whatever you need.
Mhm.
We would love to come alongside you. But yeah, thanks for joining us. Bye.
Thank you.